Welcome, everybody, to a very special shooting off. Myself and my partner with me,
Charlie.
Charlie. I
Everyone's favorite Charlie.
think you're the only Charlie
Yes. Well, yes.
by default.
In this sphere, not in the world, but
The only Charlie
very
in my world,
few.
that's for sure.
Well, yeah. I also have not run into another person with the last name spelled with an EY, so that also makes me distinct.
Yeah, I don't know where I'm going with this. Welcome to a very special
We're here.
shooting off. We're here. Very special shooting off. We are going to discuss both Total Annihilation, the REIGN Supercard, and Eternal, the Legacy of the Triad, the SHOOT Project PPV this week. It's not going to be very long. We're going to promise you that right now. Both of us have had kind of long days, so we just don't want to be talking too much tonight. But we're going to try and do the best we can to highlight everybody's matches. We'll be talking about the championship matches for sure, and we'll be going over some of the other matches just with a little tone of our interest in the storylines going into those matches themselves. But as of now, Charlie, how was your day?
My day is long. I was in a meeting. I was telling some other folks I was in a 90-minute meeting with 4 agenda items, and they were still on the first agenda item 58 minutes into a 90-minute meeting. I was so done.
My day was spent. Today was the first day of school for all the kids, so I was up super early in the morning, and then I donated plasma and so on and so forth, and it's just draining. Just a draining day. So
Drained of your plasma.
Drained of my plasma, drained of my energy, drained of my crystal. I guess
that's an Ultimo Muerte move, right? Draining opponents of plasma.
That's right. Just draining their soul from their body.
Yeah. Write it into his character.
I should. Maybe that's like his finisher. Is your soul is mine.
See, but the joke is he actually works for the Red Cross.
Oh yeah, so he's actually helping people.
It sounds horrifying, and then you realize no, he's actually a good civic servant.
Yeah, I think that's actually the best way to turn him face, right?
Yeah, exactly. He was being cheered.
Yeah, well, I think we're both, Eric and I are both playing our characters not to be like hated by the fans, like they're the type of not anti-heroes, but just like destroyers of men, I guess. I don't know. So just the kind of stuff that fans love to see in those types of promotions. Speaking of REIGN, the Supercard, the first Supercard REIGN has produced, we are going to get Total Annihilation, which is named after the match that Ultimo Muerte and Cicada are participating in the cage match in the main event.
However, Cicada or Cicada?
It's so interchangeable with me. I don't know. I say it both ways, depending on like the sentence structure, I guess.
Okay, because I was gonna say, like, I always think because he loves bugs, so I assumed it was Cicada.
I think you're right. I think it is Cicada.
Okay.
And I just say Cicada.
Cicada sounds like a Toyota car.
You're right, it does.
The Toyota Cicada.
I'm gonna say that on my next promotion for it. All
right. Okay, sorry. All right, keep going.
Kicking off the show, we're gonna have the World Heavyweight Championship match, highlighting all of the action, starting off with the action as Rapture takes on Viento Helado for the REIGN Championship that Viento Helado took from Jamie Johnson back in, I want to say, in May, but I may be wrong on that one.
Yeah, I don't have that stat sheet in front of me, but so like this match is championship match kicking off the Total Annihilation, and from the last show, there's definitely some, it really came down to fisticuffs, right? Like the match itself got set with essentially a fight in the back with Furia Invierno. I'm going to hopefully pronounce that correctly, being distracted by the Willets. So, which then allowed Rapture to go after Viento. So it's interesting to kind of see this manifest and what will, clearly it's going to be one of those matches that has a lot of stakes riding on it, especially considering that Furia Invierno with Viento has sort of tried to stake claim as the dominant force within REIGN.
Correct. Yeah. So I think that this kicking off the show is a good match. I think because you had to have the cage match main event, and I don't think that you could put on the Viento Helado match as world champion in the co-main. I just don't think that that's a good place for it to be. But I think opening it and setting the tone for the night is probably the best booking decision for the match itself. So pretty pumped that it's in the main. I know that, or in the opener. I know that we discussed this last time, I believe, about having the pecking order of matches and so on and so forth. So I think that this kind of solidifies my point from what I said.
The nice thing about the Total Annihilation card it is essentially either a 6-layer cake or a 3-layer cake, depending on how you want to approach it. And I just got done watching the last episode of Crime Scene Kitchen, so food is on my mind. But right, so you start with the World Heavyweight Championship, and then immediately after you have the contendership. So what I love about how this is stacked is you have 3 championship matches, and then in between you have basically who's going to be for next in line to face whoever wins those matches. So it really makes things clean coming out of the show.
Yeah, I think that it sets up the future of REIGN pretty well. Yep. Speaking of the championship matches, there are 3 on the show. The next one is going to be the World Tag Team Championships with the Willet Clan taking on Fira Invernal. Sorry.
Yeah, it's incredible.
I mean, it is.
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this is a team, and what's really kind of interesting for REIGN for me is I know it kind of started as sort of a way to test out characters, and it still is, but I've noticed a lot more passing back and forth between REIGN and the main SHOOT shows. So Furia, I know, has been on either Ruination or Revolution before, and then obviously the Willet Clan has as well. And so you've got sort of this really interesting matchup between 2 teams that have flirted with both sides, almost sort of like the Premier League and the Champions League, right? So you've kind of, for soccer fans out there, you've got these teams that are kind of on the table, just on that cusp of either rising or falling between the 2 tiers. And so knowing how violent the Willet Clan is and how confident Furia is, I'm actually really excited to see how Fire Pro handles this match.
It's the setup for I just said it last time, but it's the setup for the future of the division. Of course, I think that Trey wants the Willet Clan to be successful. I think that he's not just, I don't think that they're just filler characters, and I don't think that the Furia in Viernal, I don't think that they're also filler characters. So I think that this match is one of the ones to be looking into of the 6, I suppose. But it's one that has value to it from an out of character point as well.
Yeah, and leading into the next match, which is the contendership, looking at the teams. Well, okay, so what are your thoughts on having a tag team contendership where only one member of that tag team is competing?
I think it's original. I know that it's part of the limitations of the Fire Pro wrestling world. I think it's part of that, but I think it's original in that, it is randomly chosen, so on and so forth. So I'm interested in it. I think that it's, I don't know. I just think it's a cool idea.
Yeah, and I'm looking right now at the members that have been selected for that match, and you've got a really nice mix of relatively new teams along with some more established teams like Patriot Act, Spinebuster Island, Bart Abernathy and Smashtown. Midnight Cowboys had a great win on the last show for REIGN. So I'm really interested to see kind of what shakes out of this, because if Furia wins, they're going to be even more, I think, emboldened, and it's going to be a tall order for whoever comes out of the contendership match. But if it's a team like Spinebuster Island is proven. And so that has a lot of draw for me. But then if it's the Willets, Willets are also, the name is well established, but the characters that make up the clan, so to speak, they're kind of an unknown quantity. And so if they come out of this and face off against any of the other teams that are maybe newer, or the Northmen, as an example, who tried to take on Cicada, and lost. What was the other team? Yeah, and then what was the other team that took on Muerte?
I do not remember.
Okay,
I think it might have been Smash Tag.
no. Anyways, point being that I don't know. I think I haven't seen Reign quite yet as a tag team focused show, but this could create an interesting division for that coming out of this.
That leads us into the main event with the Horizon Championship with
Mhm.
Cicada taking on the champion Ultimo Muerte. And I don't know. I'm just gonna sit back and say, hey, what do you think about this match? Like, what do you think about the build to it, so on and so forth?
I have been fascinated by both these two characters since they've become mainstays on the shows. Muerte, obviously, I had you and I worked with NC-17, kind of with a feud last year, and so that I know a lot about the history and the dynamics behind Muerte and sort of the character arc that he has, and I understand that a lot more, but Cicada is kind of an unknown quantity. And what I've enjoyed a little bit is that Muerte really feels like, or at least tries to position himself as a the king of Reign. He's the champion, right? So he has every right to position himself as the leader and has his selection of who he faces to defend that title. And whereas the Cicada, not the Cicada, but just Cicada, almost seems like a character that is mocking Muerte a little bit and trying to say, oh, I have to prove, if I have to prove myself to you, then I'm going to do it in a way that is almost sort of tongue in cheek. It's like I'm gonna do everything that you do and try and do it better. So every fancy spooky shit thing that Muerte does, Cicada tries to one up him. And even in the last set of shows where they both faced two members of a tag team, one on two, Cicada beat his teams quicker. So it's so natural for these two to kind of come to blows. And so seeing this match, I think, will be really interesting. And Cicada really feels like a character on the upswing, but I just don't know what that character does when he finally gets that shot.
Gotcha. That is very interesting. I won't say if that's what we're going for or not, but I will say that that's very interesting. So that's crazy. I will say, being as this is kind of the brainchild of both myself, Eric, and Josh, all kind of combined, that we all feel like it's been built up very well. We think that it's worthy of being a supercard main event, and I hope that kind of sits well with everybody else, that they feel the same. If you aren't going through Reign and you're sleeping on Reign right now, please stop. Like it's
yeah,
there's a lot going on with Reign.
So what I love about Reign, and I will use this as a transition for the contendership.
Yeah.
Is that Reign is such a playground for kooky ideas that I almost feel hampered sometimes by what I feel is the shootness of Shoot, for lack of a better word. That in Revolution and Ruination, there's such gritty realism to a lot of the storylines that you don't get to do off the walls bonkers shit, and that Cicada and Muerte are headlining Reign and really just kind of going all out on like occult versus Max Headroom style sort of like fighting. It makes it so much more freeing to just try stuff out, which is why I'm really excited for the Horizon contendership battle, because you've got like Wolfman in there, and I have had so much fun building that character and just going where my brain wants to take me and just not worrying about what the limitations on that are. But then I also see that Golden Berghalter is in this contendership match, and so is Muratagi Hanzo and Tiberius Blade and the damn goober, that damn goober who premiered on this last show and just walks around with a duck in his hand and is like, and thinks the duck's gonna bring him a title. And it is, to me, this jovial sort, it's that weird line between kayfabe and non-kayfabe, where you're in on the joke, but you're not. You're a smark, right? Like, you're a smark, so you know the bit, but rather than being upset and say, well, I know that's fake, or I know that's, just bullshit. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I know it's bullshit, so let's have some fun with it.
Exactly.
And
I was gonna say myself that REIGN, to touch on your point where it's serious and Shoot Project, it feels like the main cards have that you might have said realism. I think that's probably a good thing to it.
Yeah.
People try too hard in the main roster. Like
hot takes. I agree.
I'm not saying people are try hard. I'm just saying, like, people are trying to have like serious wrestler situations. And being able to be free and just be creative and just enjoy what you're doing down in REIGN without having that feeling like, oh, I got to be on the top of my game so I get the pushes and things like that. I think that is what's freeing for me as a writer, which I think is what makes it fun for me. And I see that with Wolfman, with your latest promo you put up, so.
Oh, there's so much more coming. I'm so, like, I love the other characters that I do, but I think I've said this before, and I say this not to talk about myself, but more just to provide some guidance from folks that are maybe like new tuning in, or folks that are kind of struggling with where to take their characters. Is Wolfman is the most fun that I've had writing a character since Blaze. And Blaze I wrote originally as a joke character that I just had so much fun writing, I wanted to keep writing him. And then it just kind of naturally came. So the thing that I would say, and I continue to tell myself this, is if you're ever not having fun writing a character, don't let like inertia sort of carry you forward and just like, well, I have to do it because this character is established. Just sometimes it's okay to let it go and try something new. And when you feel like you've run out of steam, trust your gut and hop onto something else.
Absolutely. I think that's a fantastic thing to say and a fantastic way to say it. So yeah. So we didn't really talk about the World Heavyweight Championship Battle Royal, I don't think. The contendership battle royal.
Oh, yeah. I mean, not necessarily in the sense of kind of the characters there, but I mean, like, looking right at the list of characters that are here. I mean, you got Chad Kyle, right? Yeah. You've got Avalanche Anderson. You got Mystic Warrior, who's been a beast. Kagami, which has been a beast. Elgin Blair, who's coming in, like, who's also dabbled a little bit between Revolution, Ruination, and REIGN. Some characters that I'm not as familiar with. Cromwell had a great match just recently. So, yeah. I mean, really, if you follow some of the characters and kind of, not necessarily like storylines, because not a lot of these characters have active storylines, but how they've performed and presented in the simulations, it's going to be an interesting show. Like, to me, I feel like Avalanche Anderson and Mystic Warrior are the two to watch in this match.
You don't put any faith in Chadwick Kyle, huh?
Chadwick Kyle did pin Blaze Claymore in that triple threat match, or that 3-person tag team. So I mean, he's got the stuff, but I've also seen him lie catatonic next to a ring post for minutes on end. So it's a luck of the draw.
Yeah. I don't know. I think you're right. There's probably going to be one of either Avalanche Anderson or Mystic Warrior. But if it does come down to Chadwick Kyle, I don't think that I'd be surprised.
I would be intrigued to see what the not in a bad way, but I would be intrigued to see what a Chadwick Kyle versus Rapture or Chadwick Kyle versus Viento Hilado match would look like.
See, we spent so long with Chadwick Kyle last year that I just want to see good things for him. So I think that's what my issue is. So.
He deserves a redemption arc of some sort, and I just don't know. But that is up to Chad. Chad's gonna Chad.
Chad's gonna Chad. All right, moving on to I think that covered all the matches on REIGN, didn't it? Okay.
It did. I'm excited. I might actually be more excited in some ways for this card than I am for Eternal. But yes, let's head on to Eternal, which the most amazing graphics of any pay-per-view that I've seen Shoot put on so far.
Do you really like them, or what's going on?
Yeah, no, I do. Like I this whole neon green, neon pink on a like koi fish tattoo background is great.
Yeah, I enjoyed it too. I think it looks really good. Plus,
I am being legit. I am being legit. I love the aesthetic.
Yeah. Kicking off that show is going to be the Premier Championship defended by Black Sheep Baez against Madison Seton.
Yes,
which has been building for a little bit, I'd say.
Yes, quite a bit. And this is like there's so many layers to the story that is being told because so many of the characters are run by similar handlers. So
sure.
like Madison and Black Sheep and kind of the storyline with Lexi and El Pariah and Laura Seton. Like there's such an interesting you have to like peel back the layers to really understand the impact, I think, of how some of these matches are going to play out, because then you also have Laura later in the show, and then you've got Pariah, in the match after. So this whole this whole growing family dynamic between the Setons and Pariah and Lexi and Black Sheep. I'm really interested to see how the cards kind of fall, or how the chips fall, for the more appropriate analogy, after this paper.
Yeah, it's
because right. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
Oh, good. No, you go ahead.
No, right. Because right, like looking at the card, you have a very likely chance, a not insignificant chance, that Madison is facing El Pariah for the Premier Championship coming out of this.
Yeah, Trouble in Paradise.
I mean, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, and isn't she with child? Right. And what is the health ramifications if Madison wins, and that is the case, and that's I sense that there's either going to be, if that match, if those two matches play out in that way, there's going to be some serious reckoning and real character development for both of those characters,
which could be fun.
Oh yeah, oh for sure. Like they've set this up perfectly for a really interesting, if it's played right, a really really interesting post pay-per-view storyline.
Absolutely. I just want to say that I'm happy that NC-17 is back, and him getting a Premier Championship on the pay-per-view is well deserved because of his past with Shoot Project. So just throw that out there. And then the next three matches we have after the Premier Championship contendership match will be the Legacy of the Triad matches. The Deathcore match with Pigpen Matsumoto and Timothy Roy, which that's your match. So I will say that Deathcore is going to be a lot of fun. Explosions everywhere, all that kind of fun stuff.
Yeah, and I know. I'll just speak very briefly to this. That Eddie's been really fun to work with as a counterpoint, and was very on board for wanting to do a mini storyline as I am trying to move Tim out of the Rooster persona and into more of a legacy character. So this Deathcore match is definitely a huge part of where I see that character going in the future. Yeah. Win or lose.
It goes without saying that Eddie's one of the best minds in the game. Matched up with you, I think this is going to be a lot of fun. And the mini feud has been a lot of fun going into the match. So
I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's going to be great. I think it's a great tribute to the deathcore side of the Triad. Can't say that. quick
Yeah.
rundown. But
Yeah, I am all for bringing back, and this is one of those things where I feel like it's more almost appropriate in REIGN than on the main shows. But I am all for bringing back some sort of hardcore element to title challenges. I know Josh once has made the effort to consolidate titles, so we don't want to add another new title. But even if it's non-title related, I like the idea of incorporating kind of these types of matches and really sort of having a non-title, I don't know, bragging rights sort of approach to some of these more hardcore and off-the-wall matches.
yeah, that's would be kind of fun. I think that maybe the Horizon Championship was supposed to be built that way, but maybe I took a different way. I'm not quite sure.
Mhm.
But we'll see how that plays out. But with this big cage match and such. So yeah.
Yes.
Moving on to the Rule of Surrender match, we got the kind of, in my opinion, the face of the Rule of Surrender for the last couple years in Laura Seaton taking on Mr. Canada Roy Vizina. I think that putting Laura in there was probably the smart idea for the Rule of Surrender match, kind of, and the legacy of it.
Right.
So I know that Roy's been kind of quiet. I'm not quite sure what's all going on with that, but hopefully Roy's still around and enjoys the Rule of Surrender match. Maybe he does something. I'm not quite sure if he will or not. But Laura Seaton put something out, and I thought there was actually a really good role play for the match itself. I don't know if you saw it or not.
I have not had a chance to get to that one yet. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of a nice swan song for the title. It obviously being absorbed into, I forget if it was absorbed into the Premier or the Sin City Championship, but being absorbed into another championship, that this is kind of one of those last hurrahs. And yeah, Laura being someone that's really stepped forward as the face of that. The submission matches, being able to kind of have that have this space on the title card, especially all that has been going on with her and Lexi and Madison. I think I really hope that that Roy can bring sort of that competition to the match, so that it's a proper send off for that title.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's deserved. Rule Surrender was one of the ones that I aspire to, because I like the kind of submission part of it. But I know that it's hard to do with Fire Pro Wrestling, so it kind of had to go, which kind of stinks. But rounding out the Legacy of the Triad matches is that Iron Fist match between Mishigahara and Ignatius Albert Martin, which I think that's the 10 count match, right?
Yes. I should know. I feel also like Iron Fist, and we're gonna get raked over the coals in the comments, but I feel, what was the title? Was it Iron Fist that also had the 2 out of 3 falls?
Yeah, so the 10 counts were difficult to do or whatever, but the 2 out of 3 falls is what the Iron Fist became. It's kind of like as kind of a
correct. Okay, right.
Yeah.
Right. But then this is going back to the origins.
Exactly. That's what I think.
Right. Yes. I remember that from the show. Like that was the caveat for the show, was that it's going to be like a true Iron Fist match.
Exciting. Yeah.
That's gonna be a long match. That's gonna be a long match.
Those are the matches that I watch on 2 times speed. Just because. Because they do get to be kind of long. Go on.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, like, I mean, like Mushigahara and I am really, there hasn't been a storyline build here, to the best of my recollection, but it is 2 characters that I feel like are well suited for this type of match, and knowing what the Ignatius character is capable of, I am excited to either see him come out of this with a new head of steam, or to have Mushigahara really kind of almost take that, like, really have like a statement match, and what that looks like for that character going forward.
Yeah, I think this is the launching pad for one of these 2 characters, or both of them. depending on how it ends up. So
Mhm.
yeah. A good Iron Fist match. One of my favorite. I think Iron Fist is my favorite championship match. Or sorry, is
Ooh.
my favorite Triad match. Excuse me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's my favorite Triad match. With the 10 counts and things like that. I think that putting your opponent down for the 10 count is a lot of fun. Like it's showing yourself to be the better man or woman in the case. So
Mhm.
yeah. Before we get to the World Tag Team Championship match, I do before we forget it, because I don't know if we're going to or not, but the Randa DC with her mystery partner against
Yes.
the Felix and is it Morton?
Felix Mullen and
Morton.
versus Miranda DC and the Anglo Luchador.
Yeah. Well, you just ruined the surprise I was going to say, but yeah.
Oh, sorry. I mean, sorry. It was posted on the official news feed.
Yeah. So the breaking news of the show is that it was posted on the news feed that it is going to be the Angle Luchador, who is a prime wrestler. So it's part of the Interfed, I think, and plus I think he's a character that the handler uses. So I think that's part of it too. But
Wow.
It's going to be a fun match. I think using the prime character to kind of hype up the match a little bit more too. That's a lot of fun. So I think that was really well done. I will say that in the bookings before, it wasn't that it was spoiled for me, but like I kind of knew where the stuff was going before we posted the actual pictures. So finding out who it was back then was cool. I think that it popped me for that match. So
Now, so that's not listed on the card currently, but that is going to be a show or a match that's slotted into the show.
correct. I think it was originally slated to be the co-main event.
Oh, okay. It's always interesting to see how something plays out where you are a handler on both sides of the coin.
Yes.
And I know that this has been a storyline that has been in the works ever since Peach Backshots before becoming Miranda DC.
Yeah.
Came in with Felix, and what I'm really interested in is, I mean, obviously, so they came in as a pair, and a pair that was very clearly not necessarily on the same page. And so to have Felix, by virtue, I think, of just how Fire Pro works, have a lot of matches that haven't gone his way, and then have Miranda have these matches that have, I mean, in my mind, positioned her as one of the top 3 competitors currently in Shoot, by virtue of how many matches she's won and just how dominant she's been in the matches that she's been in. It's been a really interesting and fun arc to watch, and so I'm excited to see. I mean, obviously they haven't really had sort of this kind of a clash, 1-on-1 clash, or I guess 2-on-2, but they haven't had this kind of a clash yet, and so having that on the show, I think I'm hoping that it's a stepping stone for both characters, or for at least one of the characters, to take that next step and figure out, okay, well, what is that relationship when they're not together, and then also not at odds.
Yeah. So if they're separated, have no interaction between the two of them. I think that's good call.
Yeah.
So I am pumped for the match. I think that this one has had a lot of build to it, of course, like you said, since they joined Shoot Project in the first place. I think this match has been building. I'm not sure if we are going to get the Randa DC Felix Mullen 1-on-1 match. That may be something that we see down the line. Not continuing this storyline, but maybe this is the end of that storyline, and then they bounce on. We'll see. But I think that's kind of a fun one to maybe hold off in your pocket too, if you want to do it that way. So yeah. Anyways, I think that it's going to be a lot of fun. So the co-main event that we have right now on the card is going to be the World Tag Team Championships. So the Unholy Thunder Army taking on the Coltons and Dan Stein. So this one is the one that we're both in. This one is kind of came together, I said, reasonably quick for us.
It was something that really came together. I think just by virtue of circumstance and initiative, but I will be honest that I was very surprised when the bookings went up that it was listed under Unholy Thunder Army and not Unholy Cyber Army. I am honored in that case. But I am really interested in how Thunderfist is kind of fitting into the dynamic of the previously unholy Cyber Army. But yeah, I think the Coltons winning the titles off of the Lions haven't really had sort of that defense yet.
Yeah.
And Unholy Thunder Army, Unholy Cyber Army, whichever, being dominant in that field in shoot prior is in my mind a natural sort of challenge for them to overcome, and that Dan shows up to really even the playing field and really for the first time since it's been implemented have a 3-person tag match for tag team championships where really anyone who wins coming out of that can defend the title against 2 people or 3 people under previous battalion rules.
Right.
I think it's fun. I think it's a really unique way to test out that new system, because if the Coltons and Stein win, I mean, is there a dynamic there where Dan gets upset with the Coltons if they only want to be the ones that defend it when he obviously has a stake in a claim to the title? I think there's some interesting pieces there.
There is that connection with the Coltons and Dan Stein, where the Coltons were in his celebration, the big, what was it, 16th anniversary celebration that we did back in the day.
Yeah,
that was
the best day of Dan Stein's life, right?
Yeah, that's what it was. The best day. The night didn't go very well, but the day did. Sure. Yeah. But yeah, so there was that connection there, and that's kind of why I felt it was okay for Dan to come out. We needed to get the tag team championships on the pay-per-view. This was the best way to do it. And like you were saying, the Unholy Cyber Army, the Unholy Thunder Army, both have been very dominant. Thunderfist herself has been one of the dominant people in the past and things like that. And then them two connecting was just, it made sense for Dan to join the Coltons in this situation. You can't have a 3-on-2 handicap match, I don't think.
You could.
On the pay-per-view. I mean, you could, but it doesn't make any sense.
But yeah, no, I'm excited to see where this goes, because no matter what, whether you have the Thunder Army as new tag champs or the Coltons and Stein as tag champs, there's going to be some fun stories coming out of whoever wins this. Yeah,
absolutely. I think that this sets up a bunch of cool stuff in the future, no matter the way it goes. I don't believe that this is being, this is RNG to me. So it must be RNG. So we'll see how it all plays out. It's going to be fun.
Yep.
And then finally, in the main event, we have the Avatar. I don't know if he's called the Icon, but he's definitely the Icon of SHOOT Project. Azareth Dimitri taking on Nate Robideau for the World Heavyweight Championship that he's been kind of stalking Nate Robideau to give him for the last couple of weeks. Well, longer than that, but last couple of weeks he's been stalking him.
Yeah, and I have a lot of feelings about this match because Nate has been this dominant force in Shoot from the beginning, and Azraith has been a character that has, really truly, like he is in the sphere of Shoot. He is in my mind at the level of like an Undertaker or a Hulk Hogan, or pre-racist Hulk Hogan, or I guess a John Cena or a Steve Austin, or like one of those names that just you hear it and you immediately know what is coming to the table. And Nate has been so dominant in Shoot recently with it since the revival. To have these two figures clash and to have Nate as this egotistical, seemingly unstoppable force that no one has been able to come close to challenging, including Azraith, go up against an Azraith that has seemingly stripped every ounce of humanity and humility and sense of anchoring that he may have had when Judy E was here. and kind of having that more paternal sort of, being here, but also kind of letting his daughter take the reins a little bit. And obviously then what happened between Judy E and Nate, and how that has really spurred in some ways Azraith to go after Nate and have this just animalistic drive to not just claim the championship, which he has not had in Shoot. He's had it other places, but not in Shoot.
Yeah.
I think intermixed with the slight that and the damage that Nate caused Judy E. It's under the surface in a lot of the stuff that Ben writes for Azraith in this sphere. It's never stated, I think, quite explicitly, but I mean it's a match and it's a story, and it is something that every time you see elements of it on a show in this build up to the pay-per-view, it's captivating. And I am excited to see where this plays out, because no matter what, no matter who wins this match, it's either going to be devastating for Azraith or it's going to be a huge blow to Nate. And Nate is not going to take losing lightly if that's what happens. And I don't know what Azraith will do if he goes up against Nate again and faces another wall.
I am stoked. I think that Azraith and Dan, and to maybe a lesser extent, because he came in at the very end there, NC-17 are kind of the last of the old guard of Shoot Project. And Ayumi, I guess.
Ayumi has not technically gone away yet.
Yeah.
Just on medical leave.
She's trying to come back. She's trying to come back as hard as she can. So I think like it's those four are like the last of the old guard of Shoot Project, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes. A lot of other the handlers are still around, and they have moved on to legacy characters. You still got like you have the Willets in some cases, and you've got you had Buck for a while, and you had Outcast for a while, and you had but I mean, in terms of like the current crop that is still around and active and producing content, it really is kind of a changing of the guard in a lot of ways. Yeah,
I do see Azraith as the avatar. He's the avatar for a reason. So I think that this one has a lot of build up for me just in that regard, where it's kind of the old guard versus the new guard, and Nate Robideau is probably maybe the face of the new guard. So
it was Josh Breedlove for a while, and then Nate, and then Buck in a lot of ways, and I am had a shot there for a bit. Judy E had a shot there for a bit. And that's where I'm really interested to see where the main event of Shoot goes after this falls out, because Azraith wins. Let's say Azraith wins. His drive against Nate is so pushed by, I think, personal slight and personal vendetta. Who steps into that void, or does Nate like claim like a rematch, and do we have like another like rehash of a back and forth, or who kind of steps up and steps in to that space? Or if Azraith loses and Nate wins, that just further solidifies his legacy, and you almost have to have someone come in that has either been out of the game, or someone like fresh, like super fresh, like a Miranda, right? That just doesn't have a care in the world and challenges Nate, and maybe does something spectacular. But there's a lot riding, I think, on the outcome of that match.
Yeah, it's well deserving of being the main event of Eternal Legacy of the Triad, which comes to you on August 20th, 2023, from the Shoot Project Epicenter.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and it's the second to last pay-per-view of the year, because I think the next pay-per-view that comes after this is the one that wraps up 2023.
Right. I think we go on the break afterwards, and yeah, we'll have the holiday break. So this is going to be the second to last one, setting up the last cycle for the year. So a
Mhm.
lot of stuff, like you were saying, coming out of all these different divisions. The Premier, the World Tag Team Heavyweight Championship, even the REIGN Championships. So
Yeah, it's fun.
it's good.
I'm excited to I'll do a plug for in if everything works out once the shows are up and we've had a chance to go through them, we'll be able to do a longer play-by-play live stream.
Yeah.
Maybe even be able to just have the matches running while we talk over them. That could be fun.
That could be fun. I could find a way to do that for sure.
Yeah.
So
Do that. Yeah.
Yep. Overall, this is going to be a good weekend for Shoot Project. The Supercard obviously is going to be a lot of fun to do. Josh has done a really good job of setting that up. What's the word I'm thinking of? Not periodically, but timing it with the pay-per-view. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. The one thing that I'm gonna make a plug, because I'm also bad at this, or I've work and everything has been kind of hampering me, but I know we only have one role play really currently heading into the pay-per-view, and I know role plays aren't, required for this, but I would love to see some, I don't know, either character development or definitely some segments on the shows to really flesh out and round out both of these stacked cards.
Yeah, I think that any kind of participation in Shoot Project is a lot of fun, but role plays are a lot of fun to read. So, and it does drum up excitement during the week. To the show.
Mm-hmm.
So, yep, I totally agree. And Spinner has been kind of quiet lately too, but I think that's just kind of end of the summer kind of lull.
Yeah.
So again?
Oh, I was just saying, school starting on both on our levels, K through 12 and college.
Yeah.
So I know I've been underwater because of that. So
yeah. So it's to be expected this time of year. So I'm not too worried about everything right now. But like you were saying, yes, it does help if there is participation in the boards itself. So absolutely. But still so excited. Still very excited for the weekend, and we're gonna have a great time, and a lot of fun storylines are going to come out of it. A lot of fun storylines going into it. Dan Stein's first match, not as the sexiest in the shoot. Congratulations to Maximo Physico and Eric for winning that match. So.
Oh yeah, he's gonna have fun with that.
Yeah. Yeah. I do want to touch on CCW. Those people. There's a couple people that we've worked with in the past. I'm not sure if it's out yet. I don't want to spoil it if it's not out yet. But those people seem like very cool. Mags and Swaggy, I think is his name, right? Swanee. It's not Swaggy. But yeah, I think that those two people are pretty cool. There's a third person on their team that we know very well. Maybe he'll pop in once everything slows down. I'm not going to ruin who he is. So, but those people are kind of fun. They're doing a lot of cool stuff. They're a new place, and the AI that guy does is fantastic. So
yes,
I think that's pretty cool.
You got a Wolfman out of it. It was great.
Yeah, the Wolfman was great. I love Wolfman. He got me sucked into the character. So Wolfman is my pick to win the Horizon Championship Battle Royals.
Go Wolfman.
Yeah, go Wolfman, right?
Go Wolfman.
I think we know who TH likes too. So.
Yeah. Oh right. Yeah, we could go on a whole tangent. I was telling Josh though, I was not expecting this like one-off joke character that I had in one segment on a on a show to like turn into like the most invested character that I have quite outside of Tim.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun character. So with that said, it is 8:00. We've been doing this for about an hour now. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up here. Charlie, you have anything else you want to say?
No, if anyone wants to do a watch party once the shows are up, outside of us doing a play-by-play after, like I am totally down to just do a live stream of like actually just watching and responding and like reacting as it happens. I think that'd be fun. We haven't done that yet.
Yeah, I think that Prime has done that in the past, and it's a lot of fun too. So it's a good idea.
All right, make it happen. Make it happen.
Yeah. I'll probably get this up later tonight, so you guys can all enjoy it later tonight, and we can have everything out there for us to enjoy for the weekend. So my name is Greg. I love you guys. Thank you so much for listening in. And Charlie.
Yes, I'm Charlie, and I also love guys.
Not as much as I do. All right.
Okay.
Katya. All right. Yes. All right. I will. Okay. Good night, everybody.
Okay, bye.